This is Sunny Phi Side live with Jeff Walker on the internet and on the platform, coming to you live with sports. And we got a great forum here to talk to you about the interesting aspects that are going on in sports. There are so many things happening. So I want to get right into it, and I'm going to bring up the subjects. And as I'm bringing up the subjects and I address you, go into the discussion that we're having and do your introduction. I'm going to start with my brother, Phil. Phil, did you watch the FIBA?
FIBA tournament. Yes, I did. Philip Green here. Just here to enjoy the sights and sounds and the sports news that we will get involved with here today. Carl, thank you for the invite. I'm grateful and happy to be here.
Okay, Phil, I'm not letting you off the hook. We got to go into it.
FIBA was great.
My biggest discussion, Phil, is I am saying that the international stars, because they have chemistry, they have teamwork, that they, even with LeBron James and Kevin Durant and all of them coming in there, they can still be, in some cases, the NBA stars.
Carl,
What is your argument on that, Phil?
Since you asked me to get into it, let me get right to you. Ain't no way they're going to beat our best. They only win when we don't send our best. If we send our best against their best, it's a massacre.
No, I disagree.
The gap has closed.
I disagree.
It's okay. It's disagreement. It's fine. I'm entitled to my opinion.
You're entitled to it.
And my opinion is that I believe it'll be better than it was in 92. Let's get that real. We're not going to beat them by 50, 60 points. I didn't mean it that way. All I'm saying is, on our worst day, we should beat them with our very best. Now, this young man that brought this up about us not being world, and he's an American, come on, the track guy, stay with track, buddy.
No allowed.
Yeah, yes, no allowed. Stay with track. I watched him. He's a speedster. He's great. But I can tell you this, I bet you dollars to donuts if they put their very best, and they can conglomerate and take them from other countries, because no one country has more better players than us. Nobody. Not if we put our very best.
And I'm going to tell you why that they could compete. Now, I'm not saying in a 7-game series that team can beat the best of the United States.
In the FIBA format, they would
one
win. Game.
Yes,
I believe
they can. Any
I
one
my
game.
Money on the Americans, then I'll lose that money gladly, because I don't think they can do it in if our very best is there and we practice and we perform together.
I'm gonna tell you why I think so, and then I'm gonna go to Al.
Okay. I was gonna say, Carl, you gonna bring us in this conversation?
I'm gonna bring you in. That's what I do, brother. That's what I do. But I'm talking with Phil, and Phil, what I'm saying is, because it's a national identity with them. Now, with the United States players, we get into ego, we get into bickering, we get into thinking about our $1 million contracts. They don't have those issues.
Oh, can I say one thing real quick, and I'll be silent.
So with their national pride, they put everything into it, and it's a chip on their shoulders against the United States to prove that they can.
In 1988,
let me go to Al. Al.
Yes, sir. You want me to answer the question?
Yes, brother.
Let me tell you that the international team could have Jesus and God themselves on their team. They still will not beat the NBA stars. Let's just take the criminals. We'll take Morant. We'll take James Harden. We'll take the big giant over there in Philadelphia. We'll take, we don't know which way he going, number 6 down there in LA that want to come back. It's no way. As a matter of fact, they could even beat our WNBA stars if they was on top. Especially if they played topless. If they played topless, it's over with.
Introduce yourself, Al.
I'm Al D. Freeman. Let me say this. Last night I did a show
All right, Daryl, what is your opinion? You're on my side, right?
Well, I see your points, Carl. I understand that teams that play together consistently have a better chance than teams that are thrown together with a short time of practice and trying to get the cohesion. But the bottom line is, as Phil was alluding to, talent wins. And we have the most talent. We have some great international players that are in the NBA now. But when it all boils down to it, America, even with our big ego and our arrogance, when it comes to these major sports, we have the best players in the world. And Phil's right. We're not going to dream team them. We're not going to 50, 60, put on an all-star show. But when all is said and done, if America puts together a team with the likes of Durant and the rest and LeBron, if we lose that will be the biggest upset since the Russians beat America in 1980 in hockey.
And what I am saying is, look at the talent of these other teams. The talent, the Wagner brothers in Germany, along with Schroeder, and hey, they got some talent. And they just because they're not NBA stars doesn't mean they're not stars that can put some hoops up, can put some points up. So it's not like we're playing against some scrubs. No.
Would you take them over?
Have a lot of talent across the board. So
which one of them would you take over LeBron? Which one of them would you take over Kevin Durant? Which one of them would you take over Kyrie Irving?
Hey, I put Luka out there with LeBron. Luka can play against. Hey, Luka can hit 40. Now, I can't say what the Wagner brothers can do because I haven't watched them that much. However, at this stage of LeBron's career, I'm not sure. I want to bring in our guest, Sister LaQuan. How you doing, ma'am? How you doing? Can you hear me?
You muted, LaQuan.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Hey,
All right,
LaQuan,
we're
how you
talking
doing?
about FIBA against
fine.
the United States. Jeff, I am going to come back to you. I would like to allow the sister to have her comment on that because we've been discussing that. My assertion is, and I'm in the minority, but I think I'm right, is I don't care if you put LeBron James out there or Kevin Durant or Stephon Curry. I still believe the international teams, because they have greater cohesion, they have greater chemistry, and they got a chip on their shoulders against the United States, they can beat the United States, and it remains to be seen. We're going to see it coming up because LeBron says they're going to put the team together. What is your opinion, sister?
To be honest, at this stage of LeBron's career, to me, United States wouldn't even need him if you got Steph Curry, KD, and Devin Booker, and some great ones like that, because Bron wants the ball in his hands too much. And he continues, and to me, he doesn't make a team cohesive as to be able to move the ball around and play. So is he willing to take a back seat in this? Because at this point, FIBA is not his style of play, and he ain't gonna be able to handle that. But as far as everyone else in the world, I'm always Team USA. if you put our top A1s on a team, nobody's gonna beat us. I would say this now, if you had the world as far as the greatest international players that's in the NBA versus the U10 US, then that's a whole different story. But it's so broken up that you have Luka playing over here with his country, and you have Ionis didn't even play this with his country. And then you have others. So I don't see no one as far as beating our top A1 guys, as far as winning. But I mean, I'm always Team USA. Always Team USA, because we set the standard. Now the style of play may be more physical with FIBA, and they're more cohesive as far as fundamentals. When it comes to fundamental style, yes, they can actually outplay us fundamentally. But when it comes to putting them players together, they put aside their egos. Nobody's beating Team USA.
But that's the whole key, putting aside their egos, putting aside their bickering. I supposed to be starting over these guys and so forth, and nobody is willing to sacrifice, whereas these other teams, that's a part of their mantra. That's a part of their mission, to sacrifice and put together the best team. And that is why they are succeeding over the mixed match team of the United States. Hey, in my opinion, those guys had talent, and if they had played together, had practiced together, they had enough talent. However, they didn't have that many big men. That was a big problem. They didn't have
but if you look at it,
and the big men, Jaren Jackson and the crew got into foul trouble. So the way they put together the team, that was a problem, because playing international, you need to have some big men who can play. All right, I want to go to Mr. President Jeffrey Walker and hear his spiel on this.
Okay, Carl, I understand your point, and you have strong convictions, and I can appreciate that. But you have to understand, back in '92, when the Olympic team, we first had the Dream Team, we had guys like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler, Scottie Pippen, Karl Malone, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, John Stockton, Chris Mullin, Larry Bird. All of those guys were all-stars. Those guys were champions, and they were all-stars. So they knew how to come together as a team and come develop as a cohesive unit and go out and take care of business and dominate. And that's what they did. Now the teams we're sending now, the guys we sent.
May I make a point on that?
Hold on. The guys we put together on this last team had a total of 4 all-star appearances. A total, 12 players, total of 4 all-star appearances. Whereas the Dream Team I just mentioned, all those guys were all-stars. So you're not putting together, you're not talking about apples and oranges. The other countries are putting together their best team. And the USA is not putting together their best team. Man, I could put together 8 teams that's better than the team they put together.
We sent the D team. We sent the D team, D-list players to over there to play. We had 2 C-level players, 2 C-level players. The rest of them was D-level players.
LeBron, but
I can get 2 players with 1 day that's better than the guys that played.
Better than they were in 1992. The international players are much better as far as talent, as far as skill, as far as their competitiveness across the board. They are better. You couldn't just put together a whole list of all-star players without practice and compete against them. No, those players today internationally are a lot better than they were in '92. Now,
they still not good enough. I'm telling you, they are not good enough to be an all-star NBA team. I told you they couldn't beat the WNBA team. They couldn't beat those things, those girls.
I appreciate your comedic flair, but you're wrong. I'm sorry.
You think they can beat the girls?
I appreciate your comedic flair, but you're wrong. Y'all not giving these international players the credit they deserve, because a lot of them can play and do play in the NBA.
Carl,
and
let's
even
see them
the
win
ones
the
that don't
Olympics.
play are
Let's see them
just
win the
as
Olympics.
competitive, but you only got, what, 15 slots on the NBA team. So you got a lot of players that's real good, but maybe don't even want to come to America and compete in the NBA system because they don't feel they get the credit and they do.
But you know, on a team, you don't need 15. You don't need 15 great players. You need 7. You need at least 7 that can play. You need your first 5 and then 2 off the bench. You don't have to go that deep on a bench when you have a great team.
That is my point. But along with that, the international players, those great players on that team are willing to sacrifice, because they'll have 7 great players, but the rest of them are almost as good, but they're willing to come together and sacrifice for the good of the country. Our players are still bickering, thinking about their $1 million contract. And a lot of them say, I'm not going to risk my knees or whatever because I might mess up myself and I won't be able to get my contract fulfilled. So there's so many different points on this. I see them in the minority, but it's not the first time that I've been right and everybody else has been wrong.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. As far as, okay, from 1992, and to be honest, the 1996 team is different than right now, 2023. The 1992, they were two-way players. They played offense and they played defense. The players now don't play defense. They're strictly offense, but they will have to adjust their game to a mentality of hard-nosed basketball. Let me get out. It won't be like an NBA game. They will totally turn off that because they cannot play like they play in the NBA. The NBA is meant for them to be soft. This is coming back like, hey, we at the park, we about to grind, we about to get in somebody behind. That's how they got to approach it. So I get what you're saying. Of course, in FIBA, playing in FIBA, you have always been it has always been tough. FIBA is way harder than NBA. Playing in the FIBA is way harder than NBA because they grind on both ends and they play, and 9 out of 10 times, half of them are playing to stay alive in their country because of the restrictions and all they have. So yes, it's a different ball game. But those, I think, if you get the top players, they will have to say, hey, this is not the NBA. We're going to have to take this back to the street. We're going to have to take this back old school.
Well, right now, Noah Lyles was a prophet. And right now, by the evidence that we have available, until something else comes up, the United States was not good enough to beat these other countries. Until LeBron puts his team together and we have another opportunity, hey, this is all we have, and the United States is not good enough to beat those other countries. Was Noah Lyles correct? Was Noah Lyles correct? What you think, Darryl?
I want Jeff to finish his point.
Okay.
Carl, you're dominating the conversation. Give us a chance to say something, Carl, please. The team that the USA is going to put together next year, the team that the USA is going to put together next year will be Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, LeBron James, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving. There is no way any of those teams from across the seas are going to beat that team. If that team gets in the necessary practice and get those cohesiveness together, there is no way any of those teams would beat the U.S.
That team could have competed.
I got a question.
That team could have competed against the 92 team.
I got a question for everybody. Who won the 2020 Olympics in men's basketball?
When the Spain.
Was it Spain?
Who won the gold medal? Who won the gold medal?
Was it United States? I don't know.
United States won the gold medal, right?
Okay.
So that means we're still number 1 until somebody take them off the throne.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me interject in here real quick.
Tell him, sis. Tell him.
In 88, that was the last time we sent college players. They were furious for losing that. why do you think the dream team even came about? And I hate that John Thompson had to coach the team and take the blame. They quit sending college kids, the best college kids, because the international game did catch up. But 92 made a point, and as she alluded to earlier, 96 made a point. And that's continuing that way. Yeah, the international players are better, but they're learning from American players. We going into their countries. We're setting up camps and shit. We're helping them beat us. But it's okay because they want this to be an international game. We drafted guys like Yao Ming and all of them and brought them over here and gave them an opportunity. Yeah, it's a lot of variables, but I do respect and admire your tenacity on what you believe, Carl. I would bet you dollars against donuts that if you played the best of the best, see, you are talking about one country with that many good players, and you are right about their bench players, role players doing their job. But we have a bunch of good players in this country, period. And they have some, and the few that are good come over here to play. And that's why I say the story going to be at the Olympics, not FIBA. FIBA is just a warm-up to the Olympics. And we don't send our best players to FIBA. But we bet you, I bet you it ain't but 2 or 3 guys on that FIBA team might play if somebody get hurt on the regular Olympic team that they're going to send. And that's just my opinion.
Well, there's no way to know for sure until that time comes, the Olympics and the new challenge that will happen. Jeff, you gave a list. Out of all of those players, you don't know who's actually going to show up when it comes time. That's a long ways away. So we'll see. A lot of different things can happen. But we do know that the international countries will be competitive. You know, all of these countries are competitive now. Spain, France, Canada, Latvia, if I'm saying it right, Serbia.
Slovenia.
All of those countries are competitive. And one big variable they had is they had big men who were able to dominate the boards. That's one big mistake that the United States team did not have.
Embiid could handle all those guys in his sleep. None of those guys could touch him.
And then Anthony Davis, and then you got AD, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying we didn't send our best. They did. You're right. Everything you said happened. But
Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, they can't compete with that team.
Alluded to
until those guys prove it, Jeff. Right now, I got to agree with Noah Lyles.
They did prove it in 2020.
Wait.
Our sister just told you we won in 2020, didn't she?
Yeah, we ain't got to prove nothing. They got to prove to us that they can beat us.
Thank you. There you go.
Okay, well, they proved it in FIBA. We proved it in the Olympics. So the next Olympics will be the next challenge where it can be seen across the board. Did Noah Lyles go too far in his comments? I don't think so by what happened, but he got a little backlash, but he made a point and now we are discussing it. So it was a good point to make. And it got a lot of the NBA players on edge and upset. You know, they made the comments back at him, but, you know, because of what happened, they had to leave him alone. So there's so many things happening. We will see, and a great NBA season is about to happen. Speaking of that, the Rockets, the NBA are about to happen. And speaking of the Rockets, what do we say about Kevin Porter? Al, I know you got something to say about that. Al.
Man, yeah. Look, boy, let me tell you something, boy. That boy is tight now. He tighter than a pair of mariachi pants. He's gonna go to jail, bro. That was disgusting. That was, why? What's wrong with these young boys? Why put your hands on these women? You're a multi-million-dollar player, and you decide to, you know how, man, listen, I would have took him on Bissonnette. He would have had better luck picking up one of those chicks. They wouldn't have fought. Well, no, they probably would have whooped his ass, man, because them girls out there got some hands. Not they general. You been out there.
Look, you wouldn't know, brother.
Hey, listen, that was terrible. It's an embarrassment to the Houston Rockets, but they should have seen it coming. He's been an issue. He's been a problem. And that's the deal.
Yeah. And what I always said is, if he was real upset by her locking him out of the door, and he said, "Okay, I don't want to be with you anymore," he should have said, "Okay, I'm not gonna say nothing to you. I'm gonna gather my things. I'm gonna get up and leave. Don't talk to me no more." However, from what I understand, he might have been out with another woman and was just kind of abusing the relationship. What do you think about that, Phil?
Well, I mean, she didn't get a fractured vertebrae by osmosis. I mean, a cut eye and all that other stuff. So, I mean, how do you defend that? I mean, that's indefensible. I mean,
It really is.
a basketball player and a person off the court should be very similar. And he does not, I mean, he's decent, super good at times on the basketball court. I mean, he gets into it with coaches. That's why Cleveland didn't want him. I mean, he's a problem. I mean, from a moral standpoint, but I think the new coach ain't finna put up with that. He got enough problems of his own. He can't have people like that.
I hear reports that he's going to get waived.
Would you? I
Jeff,
would.
have you heard that? Jeff,
Who you talking to?
he's going to get waived?
You talking to me?
Yes, Jeff.
Oh,
have you
okay.
heard that?
All right. Basically, what's going on with Port is that the Rockets can't do anything right now. They have to wait for the NBA. The NBA is investigating the situation. And until they complete the investigation, the Rockets' hands are tied. So they have to wait until the NBA finishes their investigation. If the NBA make a determination that Kevin Porter has violated the morality clause, and as of last year, this past season, they came up with a new contract relative to domestic violence and child abuse. And if he has violated that clause, his contract can be terminated. His contract can be terminated, and he, at that time, will be kicked out of the league. Now, the question is how long? 1 year, 2 years, or whatever. But he can be kicked out of the league. Now, I think the Rockets will prefer that, because if they terminate his contract in the league, then the Rockets will have some cap space to go out and maybe perhaps sign another free agent. So I think that's what the Rockets hope.
It's a possibility it won't happen. It's a possibility it won't happen.
Why is that?
Well, he violated.
Let LaQuan finish.
She's on the verge of changing the whole story.
Go, LaQuan. Talk to us.
Yeah, well, I know her mother.
Okay.
She's on the verge of maybe changing the whole entire story.
And that can save his behind.
Yes. So it's up in the air right now.
Okay.
So
what story can you be changed when you break a vertebrae?
I can all she got to do is say that she was angry with him and she started hitting on him, and all he did was defend himself. And that's all he did. She said all she got to do is say it was my fault just as much as it was his fault. I started hitting on him and he defended himself. She said, so everybody's mad at him, but it was my fault.
But the state of New York can still pick it up and make his life miserable.
If he comes up with that story, he may get suspended, but maybe for 25 games, not for life.
She would have to go along with that. If she does not go along with that, then he's still in trouble.
Well, that's what I just said.
The broken vertebrae negates whatever he decides to come back and say, and whatever she comes back and decides to say. He damn near killed that girl. The NBA is getting ready to make an example out of him. He needs to go.
Let's say that she probably ain't leaving him. And so what that tells you?
Well, her ignorant ass wasn't leaving him anyway, because she was with the ignorant fool. She knew what it was.
Let LaQuan talk. I want to hear what she's gonna say. Go ahead.
So it's a point of her sister. Her sister knows what's going on. Her sister has spoke out, but it's a possibility that she's to the point to where he has so much control over her that her story may change. Allegedly, I'm just gonna say allegedly may change, and allegedly she may not be leaving him.
Exactly. It won't matter whether she leave him or not. It won't. He broke a vertebrae. Y'all don't understand.
But it could, like he said, self-defense.
Ain't no self-defense. They're gonna say you are 6'8", 240-pound player. She's 125 pounds of ignorance, and her ass got her neck broke. It ain't no defense against that.
Hey guys,
He went. He went.
Ray Rice knocked his wife out cold on video. And they still got married, and they still.
Well, she didn't duck quick enough.
But Ray Rice never played in the NFL again.
He never played again, though.
But it would have been okay if they hadn't seen the video. It was the video that sold him down the ground.
It didn't matter. He was still in his prime. Ray Rice could still run that rock.
Yeah.
If you can make me win, I usually sign you anything short of beheading somebody.
If they don't have a video, if they don't have any video, what happened?
I understand that.
Whatever happened is whatever she says happened.
No, what happens is what the doctor.
The NFL took the case up and blackballed him the same way they did Colin Kaepernick.
But right now, you only hearing what the blogs say. So we don't know how. So her version of how she may have broken her vertebrae may have be a different story than what the blogs are saying.
But so how it happened, it didn't happen by osmosis.
What about the police reports of the fingerprints on her neck? What about that? See, he's cooked. Yeah, go tell her mama, don't tell that girl to embarrass herself like that. That is ridiculous. This is a criminal. He's a criminal.
Every day. This
she's a WNBA player. She got a career too. What about her career?
His reputation that hinders him because he already has the reputation of being a hothead. If he didn't have that reputation, he could have a different narrative, but he has the reputation, so people are going to go along with that reputation also. Now, if she does not defend him, does not say something different than what is being the narrative, if she wants to damage him, he's in trouble, and he probably ain't getting out of that. And even if she is trying to protect him so she can protect that money and her relationship with him, it's still going to be a problem because of what Al says. If her neck is broke, the NBA going to want to say, what happened? Who did that?
Don't forget about the state of New York.
And even if she wants to say something different, no, if that's the case.
And he may have promised her.
He
may have promised her some money. Paul, he may have promised her some money, $2 or $3, $4 million.
Yes,
that change the story.
But what I'm saying is, even if he did promise her some money, if there is that type of damage that happened, and the NBA thinks he did it, and there's evidence of that, as well as the past circumstances of his reputation, he's still going to have some consequences.
Not if she was saying that she was beating on him, he pushed her off to protect himself.
He still violates. He still violates. He still violates.
Okay, hold on, guys. All right, Daryl, go ahead.
This is what I'm trying to say. If we haven't learned anything, we should just look back right here at hometown. The grand jury said the boy didn't touch them women. He had no criminal charges and went on, and the NFL still suspended him. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm comparing the Deshaun Watson debacle to this. It doesn't matter what she says. It doesn't matter what the courts say. It doesn't matter what the police say. The NBA will want to protect their brand. Coach of Houston is going to want to protect his team. So no matter what she says, no matter what the criminal outcome becomes, no matter what she changes her story to, if the NBA pulls him in, the commissioner says, just the scandal of this alone, which is what they got Deshaun Watson for in the NFL. The scandal of this alone is enough for us to say, you're suspended for a year. You're suspended for this amount of time. Then with his history and his problem and him not being a superstar on that level, the way Deshaun was in the NFL, then other teams are not going to risk putting money in his pocket and bringing him on the team. They don't want that. So I don't think the kid gets out of this one. I feel bad for him for being stupid, but I don't see a way out. I'm not saying that he's not going to get out, but I don't see a way out. I don't care what the court says. I don't care what if she recants her story. Jeff, you say there's no video. No, there's no video, but that's damn sure some x-rays.
The NBA protects the Jerry West logo. and the NFL protects the shield. That's
But
what
the,
it is.
but the one, Deshaun Watson was totally different. Once you cross over the white man directly,
You got a
that's
point.
that's a whole different ball game.
You got a point. You got a point.
If that
The
young lady
NBA is the white man.
if she says that she
Jerry West is
initiated
the white man.
if she says that she initiated that, that is going to have some impact on the severity of his punishment if she changes the story. It's gonna be.
But here's the deal. Her story don't matter right now. See, she can go and change the story. They're gonna look at those x-rays. Her neck is broken.
Her story
So,
still matters.
Laquan,
tell him again. Laquan, tell him again.
The story will matter. I just hope she tell the truth, to be honest. I want her to tell the truth, but you know, you can't, nobody can make nobody tell the truth. Money talks, bull crap walks. So
well, the NBA knows all of that. The NBA knows that she may potentially tell a story. You know how many women have changed their stories against NBA players in the past? And it doesn't matter. See, if he hadn't broke her neck, if he had just maybe pushed her around, then we might be talking about a different story.
But how do we not know he didn't push her off of him and she went back so hard that caused her to hit something?
Then he violated the clause of the NBA. He cannot push somebody that damn hard. That is a woman. He is a grown.
You don't know
if he protected himself. He got to be able to protect himself. Everyone has a right to protect themselves, Al.
You believe that as a black man? Do you believe that as a black man, that you have a right to protect yourself? If it was a white woman, she could have put a gun in your head and you pushed her ass back and broke her back, you still guilty. He is going down.
I have a right to protect myself, but I wouldn't go to that extent to injure a woman to get her off.
That's what they're gonna say. You have a right to protect yourself because you know what they're gonna say? They call it the moment of cool reflection in law, which means if you're able to walk away, walk away. He should have went and got in his Rolls Royce and went to his side piece's house and chilled out. But we know from experience when the police get called out, who's going to jail?
Yep.
It
doesn't
matter. If the police
and you already bad. You already a bad character.
That's where he was coming from, Al. He can't go back.
They don't even ask the woman what happened. When they walk in, they tell the guy, turn around, put your hands behind your back.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
We gotta
That's
say
true.
this.
I've seen situations like that where the guy called the police on the woman and he went to jail. He's like, what called you?
We gotta say this. His reputation affects the situation.
And also, Paul, one last thing on
if he had opportunity to get his stuff and leave, because supposedly security allowed him in the room. So
because that was his room. Because that was
security still there. Did they witness what happened?
That's an issue
also.
They didn't because they would have mentioned that was witnessed by security. They never mentioned that. Carl, okay, let me tell you one last thing. Carl, one last thing on Kevin Porter. The Rockets have been covering up Kevin Porter's mess for 2 years. When I'm hearing Kevin Porter's done a lot of stuff, but they've been tight-lipped about it and they've been covering it up just like they did with James Harden. They covered up a lot of stuff that James Harden was doing. Same thing with Porter. So no matter how this turns out, even if this later recants and say, "Well, I started it, I beat the hell out of him," and he just defended himself. The Rockets still want him back.
You remember when Lance Stevenson did the same thing when he beat that woman down, her back, neck, and everything, and they dropped the charges. The NBA didn't do nothing to him. They just swept it underneath the rug because once the charges was dropped, because they said he protected himself.
What state was he in when he did that?
Indiana.
Okay, this is Texas. That boy is going down.
Nah, Texas more.
That wasn't done in Texas.
Than Indiana.
No. I'm saying.
With Texas.
So I'm saying Kevin Porter is considered a Texan right now. He lives in Houston.
That happened in New York. That case will be heard in New York.
Oh well, hell, his ass is dead then.
Well, that being said, the NBA season is what? How many weeks away, Jeff? 2?
They go to training camp in about 2.5 weeks.
Okay, so real quick, who does everybody think going to be the top teams this year? Give me 4 of the top teams coming up for this NBA season.
Oh man, hold on. 4. You said
Okay,
4.
hold on, 4. All right, hold on. Okay.
Denver, Phoenix, Utah, Philadelphia.
Okay, that's ours. Quan?
I'm gonna go with I would say Denver. I would say Celtics. I would say Bucks, and I'm gonna go with oh man, probably the Suns. I would say the Suns because I would
Nobody
give a chance
chose Golden State.
Well, hold on. You haven't given
with
us
Chris
a chance to
Paul?
say anything, Paul. Paul, you haven't
Huh?
heard everybody yet.
Okay.
All right, I'll
yeah.
go with Milwaukee and Boston in the East, and I'll go with Phoenix and Denver in the West.
Nobody's talking about Golden State. Phil.
I got them as my, I got them in the top 6, not the top 4, but I got them in the top 6.
well, me and you got the top 4 then.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, I like Boston. I think the Lakers gonna be on an upward bound this year, better than they were last year if they stay healthy.
I think so too. I think
Golden
so too.
State number 3. Okay, and Denver number 4.
Okay.
And it's not in that order. Those are just 4 teams.
That's 3 in the West, so we just talk about 14.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Just 4 teams, not in that particular order.
Yeah.
That's
all I said. Daryl?
I'm gonna go with Philly still. I like them. I like Boston. For some reason, Milwaukee, outside of that 1 year, they just don't seem to be able to get over that hump. So I'm worried about them. Over on this side, unless we figure out a way, and when I say we, I mean the entire NBA, to stop Joker and that other boy, I don't see it. And then my 4th team is the Houston Rockets. I think that, no, I'm just bullshit.
Somebody had to say the Rockets. Real quick, I want to say Golden State, Sacramento, who nobody picked, Denver, and Boston. Those are my 4 teams. So we'll see coming up what's going to happen with that. The biggest story is DEION Sanders. Is anybody surprised? Is anybody surprised that he has done what he has done? Now, it's only 2 games. We got a game tomorrow. I think it's against Colorado State.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they got a game tomorrow. We predict that go 3-0. But is anybody surprised?
No, I'm not, Carl. I'm not. Okay.
I mean, to be honest, the players is on an adrenaline rush because their coach is on that level to where he believe in them. He's getting them to the point to understand, hey, they thinking because you came from an all black, you can't play with the top. You could play with the top, yes. But do I think they on the level of Alabama? No. Do I think they but I think as far as if they stay on that high, that makes them more numb and to losing, and then they have more confidence of winning. So they're gonna have a nice record, and I'm not surprised because he hypes his players up and he makes them believe in himself. And one thing I like about him, he sees something in each player that he sees in himself, and he bring out a piece of him in each player.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty
outstanding. Good. Outstanding observation.
What you think, Al?
Well, I'm not surprised that DEION is able to accomplish whatever he's able to accomplish. I always say when a man put God first, then there's nothing that he can't do. Now, in terms of football, everybody says Alabama, but big doesn't make you the better football player. DEION has used speed in order to beat these teams. He shouldn't have beat TCU. He really shouldn't have beat Nebraska. But he's taken some guys, and if you put a young man with, my daddy used to coach say, give me a young man with average talent and a good attitude, and I'll whip a superstar with a bad attitude and bad work ethics. DEION has changed the landscape of college football for the good. Now it's going to break up that good old boy network that they had, the Dabo Sweeneys, the Nick Saban's, they in trouble. They're in trouble now because if first of all, Deion's going to get all the recruits. What do you say? Ain't hard to find. Every recruit is going to try to go to. He may. Let me tell you what's going to happen. He's going to beat Colorado State. Then he's got USC. If he beats USC, you can look for him to be in the top 6. If Deion makes it to the top 6, Deion is going to the national champion, and that's what's going to blow it away. He has the squad to do it. They ain't broke up. They play together, a team that can play together. You get a good coach and a team that can play together. Oh, bro, and you know what? Here's the last thing I'm saying. They are putting fear in everybody that they getting ready to play. They making champions doubt themselves because they just not sure. The only game I think he's going to have some trouble with, honestly, is Utah at the end of the season.
His son is showing up, putting on the show. And, you know, when you got sons like that are in your corner, I mean, you got a chance against anybody. Any other comments on Deion?
Carl, I was famous here. I'm not surprised at the success he's having. Deion has success everywhere he goes. He has success in all the teams he played for in the NFL. He has success on the baseball field. The guy's just a winner. Some guys just got that it factor. He's a winner. He knows how to communicate. He knows how to motivate. The guy just got it. Think about it. That team was 1-11 last season, 1-11, and now they're 2-0, and everybody in the country is talking about that team. That guy has done a miraculous job with that team. He utilized the transfer portal to build up that team, and he got rid of some guys who did not have the talent and replaced them with studs, and that team is ready to rock. So I am very proud of what he's done, but I'm not surprised at all.
Okay,
and his
son,
son, 903 yards in 2 games, 903 yards passing in 2 games. That's phenomenal.
No interceptions.
Let's start here. First of all, this team this year was not 1-11 last year because these guys weren't there last year. So don't say that this team that he has now was 1-11. The program was 1-11, but not this squad. So let's start there. Second of all, as Phil alluded to last show or the show before, Shedeur is a Power 5 quarterback. He just went to Jackson State to follow his father. He would have been. So don't act like he's an HBCU kid that's all of a sudden playing in Power 5 conference and doing great. He would have been doing this, period. He just went to J State to follow his dad. And we all know, following football, the difference between D1, D2, and others is not just skill positions. You got plenty of great receivers that have made it in the NFL, that are in the Hall of Fame, that are all pros, that came from small programs. That talent is there regardless. The difference between them are the hogs that you put on the line. So when you take the speed, like you said, from J State, Travis Hunter was the #1 high school prospect. Then you got Shedeur, who was a Power 5. He had talent regardless. So am I shocked? I'm surprised in a certain way that he was able to put it together so fast. But the world is shocked. That's why he's the biggest story in sports, not in college football. The world is looking at this guy with all his bravado and making it happen. Yes, you're right. He's a winner everywhere, but Deion is not on that field. He is motivating these kids. He's got all these other kids coming, and so he's going to do well. Do I think he's going to beat USC? I do. I wouldn't put money on it. Do I think he's going to beat Utah? I wouldn't put money on it. Do I think he's going to beat Oregon? I wouldn't put money on it. Do I think he's going to the national championship? I would put money that he's not. But he's doing great. I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for him every week. Right now he's must-see TV, but that's all I got to say about that.
Hey, but I know you saying that by HBC, the HBCU and D1 and D2. But the world, being an athlete and coming from that, the world looks at it different because the world looks at it. If you're a D1 program that's D1, a HBCU team should not beat you. A D2 team should not beat you. That's the way the world looks at it. So that's why it's shocking, because they're looking at HBCU as a lower level, and he brought them up to that level. So that's where they're looking at. So that's why the world sees it differently. I know we know that you can get beat by anybody, but a lot of people don't know that.
And I understand that. I understand that from a team perspective. But like I said, as an individual, I mean, we've seen the Harold Machine Gun Kellys, lead the nation in scoring. Jerry Rice, considered the greatest receiver in the game, came from an HBCU. Once again, it's those few positions. The reason that they say, well, there's no way PV is going to beat Alabama is because PV's biggest offensive lineman weighs 240 pounds. Alabama's guys going to be 340, just going to push him over. That's the difference. But when it comes to the quarterbacks, the receivers, the running backs, those guys can play, as we've seen time and time again in the NFL, and they can play with anybody. They just went to a different program. They don't have the offensive lineman or the defensive lineman there.
Yeah, so, we see that, but the white folks with that money don't see that.
Well, here's another take. Here's another take. Hard work, talent, and hard work don't always work together. When talent don't work hard, hard work will beat them. And you have to look at a perspective. Deion wanted the Florida State job. They overlooked him for that. He got some chips on the shoulders to deal with too. He knew he could coach at this level. That's his alma mater, and they went another route. The players he coached them in Fort Worth, in the little leagues, in the schools that he coached. So he's familiar. It's not like he said, I'm jumping in the transfer portal and getting a bunch of random kids. He knew who he was getting.
Right.
He knew what they could do. And he put them on the field and he worked them. His practices, he had Michael Irvin come out and talk till he was blacker than he already is, till he was bluer than he already was, about real life, next to this guy, next to that guy, block, tackle, run, believe in your coach. Man,
Tom Brady.
Motivated, you can do a lot of things, given just a little. And the facilities he left to and came to, goodness gracious.
You see that stadium?
And Shiloh and Travis didn't look around and say, man, I'm going to be here for another year or two if I can. But if they call me for that money, I'm leaving for the cheddar. But in the meantime, I'm going to help recruit. Colorado is going to get so many players years from now just because of what they've done so far.
Yeah, he picked up the phone, called Tom Brady. Tom Brady worked with his son ever since he left. Hey, he worked with his son the whole time.
Right.
The quarterbacks are warming up with T.O. on the sidelines in the games. He's like he say, it's the BET Awards. And you watch with Warren Sapp is working with his defensive players. So
his defensive team do need work because they a little shaky.
Hey, but you know what? They winning.
So his move from J-State to Colorado was not just about him. It was also about his kids, because his son now is going to get all.
Still at J-State though, playing basketball.
And his daughter.
Yeah.
No, she transferred to Colorado.
She finally
she transferred.
Good for her. She should have been there.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, the NFL has started. We in week number 2. What have you seen in the NFL? Who has surprised you so far? What do you think is going to happen? The Texans, in my opinion, still should have started Davis Mills. I just throw that out there, Daryl. But I don't necessarily like where they at. We'll have to see. But Daryl, what do you see in the NFL and with the Texans?
Well, let's start here at home. Let's start with the Texans. We have the worst luck as Houston as a city in having the number 1, number 2, number 3 pick with no studs, absolute studs coming out at quarterback. We never get the opportunity to get that guy who's supposed to be the guy. Having said that, I didn't like Bryce Young. I didn't like Stroud. I didn't like Levis, Richardson. None of those guys do I see, and I could be wrong. This is just my opinion. none of them do I see being that franchise quarterback. And they may grow into that, but right now, no. So I'm optimistic about the Texans, but they haven't shown me anything. They haven't shown me that great improvement that I say that they're going to win 5 games or 6 games. But we'll see, and I'll still be pulling for them because I'm a home team guy. As far as the NFL, it's way too early, man. Way too early. Buffalo Bills lost. Kansas City lost. I mean, teams lost that are going to, Cincinnati. Cincinnati's output was horrible. Burrow, how many yards did Burrow have, Phil? Hardly any. Yeah, and Jamar Chase didn't do anything. Mixon didn't do anything.
2-0.
Yeah, and even in that, Hurts has not looked great. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns. Of course, he did the dirt push or whatever they call it a couple of times and stole those touchdowns away from a great game by DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift should have had 3 touchdowns and 176 yards, but Hurts took those. But he's looked a little off. His running hasn't been the same, but I think he'll be fine. The NFL is just way too young, man, for me to actually make an educated guess about who's going to do this and who's going to do that. Right now, I'm just so glad for Thursdays and Sundays and Mondays. Just don't call me. I'm not answering. I'm watching the games and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
All right, Phil, what you think about the Texans?
I think the Texans line is about as weak as Colorado's line. You know, Stroud is not a terrible ball player. Pierce is not a terrible ball player. Our receivers are not terrible ball players. They're average ball players. If we just had a little bit of a line, they could compete. They could win. But we do not have an awesome offensive line, so it's hard to judge the Texans. When the offensive line is the crux of any football team. That kid still did decent, running away from people the whole damn game, getting put on his butt. Just think if he had the time. If he had the time, because he can throw. And we got some guys that can make some good catches. We'll never be able to know. It's like Daryl said, it's still too early, except that, man, A.J. Brown is a dog.
A.J. Brown of the Eagles. Yeah.
I just don't think the Texans make the necessary changes and adjustments and also as far as draft to put the right pieces together. They get one piece and then they'll totally mess up the other side of it. So I just don't think they're never at this point. They got 5 to 10 more years to work on rebuilding because I just don't see them. I just don't see them. I just don't.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I don't see the light for them. I just don't see it.
First of all, I'm a Cowboys fan through and through. But my assessment of the Texans is this. I like C.J. Stroud and I love Will Anderson. I think he's going to be defensive rookie of the year, in my opinion. Yes, it's too early to determine what they're going to do, how they're going to be. I just think leading them is the right guy. I love the coach. I think he's going to put it together and give them an opportunity that they haven't had in the past. They're not going to be great by no means in the next few years, probably, but you don't draft high for long and don't get better unless your whole organization sucks. And I don't know if I can say that about them. I think they're in the right direction. I think they're on the right path. It takes a little time to gel. Get some people back from injuries. The offensive line has injuries too. And it needs to be they know they need to be better. They were embarrassed. They were embarrassed in preseason a few times. But I can say this, they're on the right trajectory to me. And it's just a slow boogie. We be patient. They have a few pieces. They got to get the receivers straight. Running back Pierce is definitely somebody to watch if they give him a chance to run the ball. And the defense, that's what DeMeco Ryan coaches. I guarantee you, if they stay healthy, which they already got injuries, that's part of the game. No excuses. You play to win the game, and you play with what you have. You step the next man up. That's why they all get contracts. You do your job. You have a chance. And I don't know when that's going to happen, but right now they're one of those teams that people are overlooking, but they can sneak up on a few people. I mean, the Ravens are tough to beat any year. ever since Harbaugh's been there, they're gonna have some defense. And look at the quarterback; he had a decent game, and they still won. Just think when he plays a real game, they would have had no chance. Turnovers, all those other things that go into a good NFL game. Your ebb and flow. If you're a true Texan fan, I can only imagine. Which I do root for them when I ain't rooting for the Cowboys. I do. I will go to the games. I will root for them. Hope that they do well. And right now, I'm still hooked on the fact that we have a black NFL coach, a black NBA coach, a black baseball manager. I mean, we got to roll with that and root for them all the way.
Yeah,
You
but it's
mentioned the
hard
Cowboys,
to
so
root. It'd be
It
hard
is,
to root for.
But you
because-
said you was true American when you said you
That don't
root
mean
for
I'm a
American
true-
all the
that don't
time.
mean I'm a true
So you
Texan.
true
I'm not a
South.
Texan fan, though. I'm not a Texan
Oh, okay.
fan.
Well, say that. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
I'm not a
said-
Texan fan.
Okay. Now that answers everything.
Paul, this is my take
Yeah.
on things. Okay, this is my take on things. I mean, going into that game, did we expect them to beat the Ravens? I didn't expect them to beat the Ravens. So we knew that was going to be a tough game. The first game out with a rookie quarterback. But it's like a couple of gentlemen have already said, the offensive line, you got to get better production from that offensive line. The Texans are just unlucky. They just seem to have injuries. I mean, going into the season, they were so beat up going into the season. They're missing key offensive linemen. And when your offensive line is not performing well, your whole offense just goes down the wayside because you got to have room for the guys to get open. You got to have room for the running backs to get to make his move to get through the hole. If there's no room there, what is he going to do? There's nothing you can do. You can have 2 all-pro wide receivers and 2 all-star or all-pro running backs, and they still won't be able to do anything if your offensive line is not blocking. You got to get blocking, and they're just not getting the right blocking. CJ Stroud threw for 242 yards. He had the most yards thrown of all the rookie quarterbacks, but yet he gets dogged out in the media because they lost. The guy threw for 242, and despite the fact that he has one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Give them time. They need time, but they got to get healthy. They still got 2 offensive linemen, starting offensive linemen out. They got to get healthy. And if they can't get healthy, offensive line wise, they're not going to do well offensively, and you're not going to win. It's just
Ain't
that.
he questionable for the next game, though?
Oh,
Stroud.
I hadn't heard that. Yeah, y'all heard that? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
Is
he's got a shoulder injury.
Is he playing? Is he playing or what?
They haven't made a designation. He's questionable.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That kind of goes back to my thought before the season. Now, it's a moot point because we did draft Stroud, but I said draft some offensive and defensive linemen and put that Davis Mills back there. But that was my point. But you go back to, you got to have your guys in the trenches. That's where you win your ball games. You got to have those, because if you don't have those, you're not going to get nothing done. You're not going to be able to do nothing. So, Phil, you mentioned about the Cowboys. They won 40-0. You think they're going to have a good year this year?
Well, they have the time to sustain that kind of a game. We're going to get tested real fast this week. We're going to find out tomorrow, Sunday. The Jets are going to pose a real threat to them offensively. And if, they play the way they normally play, it'll be okay. And like I said, no doubt the Jets have the type of defense that can challenge them, but Dallas has the offense that can put pressure on that defense too. And their defense is very up to the challenge. They got a little guy back there who's really going to be outclassed. But if he has a decent game, which has happened against Dallas many times when you least expect it, I figure we're looking at something like 31-17, if best. If Dallas plays the way they normally do, they're at home, everything's in their favor. So we hope that that's the outcome. I mean, I think most people have more confidence in the Cowboys winning than in the Texans winning. Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Well,
So
don't say
it is.
how Dallas normally play, because then your quarterback will throw 3 to 4 interceptions. Say
Well,
they need to play.
let me say this, LeBron. I'm talking about Monday night normally play. Hello.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. And we talking about last year. Remember how Darryl made the generalization that last year Colorado team ain't this year Colorado team? That's the same thing applies to the Dallas Cowboys, just so you know.
Yeah, but y'all still got the same quarterback though.
But let's say this. Has he thrown any interceptions yet?
Not
That's what
yet,
I'm
but
saying.
South
You
Florida-
can't play normally.
If
South Gardner gonna grab about 2 on Sunday.
Okay, then let's say this. I got you, Laquan, for 50, and you, Al, for 50, that he don't throw interceptions for touchdowns or we lose and all that. Let's just say y'all
Let's
hope
say
that he do it.
interception.
I'm saying he ain't gonna do it. That's two different things.
I'm saying you saying he ain't gonna throw an interception on Sunday.
No, I'm saying he ain't gonna throw multiple. You said he gonna throw multiple interceptions.
I said no. South's gonna take 2. He gonna throw about 2, 3 if he's regular day.
Okay, he has to throw 3. You got 50 coming from me by Zell. If he don't, I want my Zell, Al.
Okay, real quick, everybody. I want to know, you pick us 2 teams that is going to end up AFC, NFC. A team that's
Still
going
too
to win
early.
the AFC.
Yeah,
a
it's
team
too
that's going
early.
to win the NFC. Real quick.
It's too early. It's too early. Whew.
Because you know what? Here's the deal. A lot of the NFL has gotten better, man. I mean, the Detroit Lions are a better team now.
I'm glad
The
they
Colts
need to
are a
be.
better
They've been
team
happy
now.
30 years. They need to be. I'm glad.
And listen, so you just can't say that Kansas City gonna win it all. You can't, because
They got beat by
so
Detroit.
a lot of teams are better. You can't say Dallas is gonna win it all. It ain't that Dallas is bad. It's just that a lot of the NFC is good. It's almost the first time that it's been equal all across the board. It just ain't one team that's a dog that you know you're gonna walk in there and you're gonna walk over. Man, the NFL.
KC is struggling right now.
You
No,
could
they're not struggling.
possibly
They
say
just lost 1 game, Laquan. Come
Yeah,
on.
but they struggling. They still struggling right now.
I picked the Chiefs going to win the AFC. I picked the Eagles going to win the NFC. Those 2 teams. I throw it out there. Real quick, we got to move on. If y'all want to go into that.
I got
Okay.
Philly.
You can-
I got Philly from the East, and I'm gonna go with Buffalo from the Philly, and then I'm gonna go with Buffalo.
Okay.
I don't have a pick, but Al, you can walk all over Arizona. Arizona's getting the #1 pick next year.
Yeah, because they're gonna have the Texans pick. Because they're gonna have the Texans pick. Arizona got the Texans pick, #1 pick. That could be the #1 pick.
Even if they didn't, Arizona might win 2 games this year.
So you
Arizona might
picking
have the
Arizona?
first 2 picks in the draft
Is
next year.
Kyler Murray back starting?
No, he is not.
Okay. Oh, he
As a matter
lost
of
the
fact-
job. Okay.
Matter of fact, Philip might be the only person that can name the Arizona quarterback. Nobody knows the Arizona quarterback.
Yeah, he's Dobbs.
See, Philip, like I said,
Traded
Philip
him-
might be the
they
only one who
traded him
knows.
from Cleveland. Dobbs.
See?
He's the quarterback at
See what I
Tennessee.
mean?
That's why we
See what I
got him
mean?
on our show. That's why we got that
Exactly.
guy on our show.
Like I said, he's probably the only one who knew that.
Dobbs is not bad. He's African American. Hey, do you know how many African American quarterbacks started last Sunday?
14.
14.
No. Has that
Yep.
ever happened in NFL before? No.
No,
You're right.
I don't believe there's been 14 NFL black quarterbacks to start in the NFL, period.
Well, they did on Sunday.
Yeah, things are changing. And I think it's going to just continue with that trend moving up because they are multi-talented, they can run, and they can pass.
And speaking of what
So
Darren
that's
said,
going to
the
continue.
Cardinals cut Colt McCoy and picked up Dobbs. He had 2 weeks to get started, and he started.
Yeah.
Astros, do we think they are going back to the Super Bowl this year? Not Super Bowl.
World
They ain't going to the Super
World
Bowl,
Series.
but they're going to the World Series. They're
Huh?
going to the World Series. They're going to the World Series because badass Brantley is back. It's
Okay.
going to make a difference.
I
Our
know
pitching,
they're back in first place. How many games are they in first place now?
They're in first place by half a game on
Half a
Texas.
game.
yeah, but here's the deal. The Astros are the best winning team. They win it on the road anyway. It won't matter if they're gonna win they're winning the American League. Nobody's gonna beat them in the American League. They come.
That
Who?
race is tight, Al. If somebody with a good record ain't gonna make the playoffs, and it's a possibility it could be the Astros.
It could be.
Well-
It could be the
Confidence.
Astros.
But it's a possibility they won't
Yeah.
even make the playoffs.
That's true. That's true.
And if they do,
They're
they
not
better be glad to
good.
make
Why is
wild
that?
card. Texas, the Astros, Seattle, and Tampa. and all those guys are fighting for 2 or 3 spots, and it's 4 or 5 teams there. That's really
Yeah,
Well,
and,
no
and I
less than
know I know going to a couple of games, the Astros been very streaky. They're very
there
streaky.
you go. That's their
Yeah.
problem right there. Inconsistency.
Yep.
Okay.
But they have everything
Well,
you
but
said.
they have been inconsistent in the regular season. But over the past 7 years during playoff season, it becomes a
You're right.
new Astros
And
team.
you're right, because they win the division by so many games, they have time to. They're not in that position this year. They have to fight to get in. They haven't had to fight to get in. They've been running away with their division. The
Well,
AL
they number
West is
one right
horrible.
now.
Yeah.
Huh?
They what?
So they're in first place right now.
Half a
By
game.
half a
Half a
game.
game.
A half a game.
Yeah.
A half a game is a half a game. We talking
But you
about
got
a
15
game.
left.
on that.
Oh, okay, here's another.
It may come down to a half a game. They may win that division
That's right.
with a
That's
half a
right.
game.
Sometimes a half a
And
game.
they
Let's put
still
some
won.
money on the wood and let the betting get good. I think they might not make the playoffs, Al. I want them to, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised. Them other teams, look, man, Oakland come in here and spanked you.
How is the
Seattle come in here and
doing?
spanked you. They 37-37 at home. They
Yeah.
good on the road. I get that. But you need to win both places.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
How
Because
is the pitching doing?
between Alvarez and what's his name? Altuve, they batting has been totally off. Like you never know if you're gonna get a hit or not out of them.
You might get
worried
three
about the
home runs
pitching.
from.
The pitching is
You might get three dingers from Altuve in one game, and he may
But
streak.
then you might not get none during that Yankee series. He couldn't even hit a fly during that Yankee series.
If they win it this year, they're gonna earn it a little different than they have in the past. They are definitely
That's true.
good now. They definitely
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, a half a game is a half a game.
Yeah.
And we gonna say, we hope the Astros work it out so we can see them back in the World Series, going to the pennant, all of that good stuff. We look forward to that. Our last thing we want to talk about is we want to congratulate Coco Guff, 19-year-old tennis phenom, who youngest player since the time of Venus Williams to win the U.S. Open. And it was
Serena.
very good
It's Serena.
showing that she had with her parents, and across the board, she has just shown a great character and so forth.
And we got a new star, Ben
Carol,
Shelton.
what is the outlook of Black tennis across the board, including Coco Gauff?
Well, we had 4 African Americans in the quarterfinals. Unfortunately, they put Blake Shelton up against Tiafoe, and so that we had to lose one there. And of course, Shelton beat Tiafoe, but then he lost in the next round to Djokovic, who ended up being the champ. So there's no shame in that. Madison Keys also lost in the quarter, so they got rid of her. But the story was Coco from beginning to end. 19-year-old sensation, crowd favorite. She beat the number 20, the number 10, and the number 2, who would be number 1 that following Monday. She beat all 3 of them in grand fashion. I mean, the finals, the finals of the U.S. Open Women's was as great as the final of the Wimbledon Men's with Alcaraz and Djokovic. Coco put on a show. She lost the first set, and then she just totally went off after that. Had the girl doing I got pulled a ham like Al did when he tried to run track in 8th grade and was getting beat, and he grabbed his ham like he was hurt. had the girl doing the Al Freeman around there. But I mean, it's been great for the young girl. Like I said, she's 19. I think she has like she got $3 million here, but she's got like $5 million in earnings this year. She's got all the endorsements with Barif, is that what I'm saying, right? And Nautica and a couple more. I think they say her estimated worth right now at 19 years old is like 11 million, which is, I mean, I didn't have $11 when I was 19 years old, and Al didn't have 11 cents. So the state of African Americans in tennis and Americans is at an all-time high, man. It's fun to watch. I know Jeff's not a big tennis guy, But right now, now is the time to watch. If you want to see African Americans doing well in a sport that has not really been their forte over the years, now is the time to watch.
Maybe for the men's, but the women's on the side, Black women have been dominating. Because you look at Venus Williams, look at Serena's, and then a lot of people forget about Sloane Stephens. See, a lot of people have forgot about her because she actually won it too. And then you have Coco coming up. Sloane Stephens was probably one of the quickest as teenage sensation that rose to the top as well during that time of that Serena Venus, because they were dominating. So when she was winning, we wasn't celebrating her like that.
Right. Absolutely.
And Sloane had natural genes. Her dad was a great NFL running back.
Micah.
Right. And what's the other girl, the one that pulled out because she was stressed out?
Oh,
Naomi.
Yeah,
Naomi. Yeah.
So like I said, it's a great time.
Plus she had a baby too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did y'all DNA test, Al? Al, you want a DNA test?
The world of sports is always an interesting topic, and it'll always continue to be. And we'll be right here at Sunny Phi Side Sports discussing the world of sports and what's going on. Our next show will be October the 27th. We also are going to work on our Sports Legends show, and we look forward to that. Mr. President, you have a comment?
No, go ahead. I wouldn't interrupt you. That wasn't me.
Okay.
Oh, you wanted me to intervene?
So we are at the end of our program. We thank everybody for joining us. Does anybody have a final sports statement that they would like to make? Sister Laquan, we appreciate you joining us. Do you have anything you want to say about sports?
Thank you, Laquan.
I just appreciate all of y'all, and it's good perspective to hear everybody's different opinions and everything. So I really enjoyed everybody.
My prediction of the national championship this year will be University of Texas versus the Colorado Buffaloes.
Here in Houston. Right here in Houston.
I believe you're going to get some money on that wager across the board, but I'll leave it to that. We'll see, though. Let's take it 1 week at a time, Al. Let's take it 1 week at a time and see. And let's keep looking at the Texans, looking at the Cowboys, looking at the Astros. Our city has a vibrant sports community that we look at. But we look at national sports also. And I want to mention, October the 20th, we have a sports gathering at Spectators, which is in Sugar Land, Texas. Come to our sports gathering, come and hang out and share good food, good drink with us, and fellowship. We look forward to all of our friends and our team joining us and being there with us, and we look forward to that. And this is the end of our show. We appreciate it. We will see everybody next time. Thank you very much.